It seems like everyone's looking for a way to feel a little more at peace these days. Like we could all use a bit more resilience in this crazy, chaotic world.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's this ancient philosophy that's actually super relevant to all that Stoicism.
Stoicism, I always thought that was about, like, you know, just being stoic. Like, no emotions, tough it out.
Ah, yeah, that's a pretty common misconception. It's not about being emotionless, it's more about, like, learning to understand those emotions so they don't end up controlling you.
Oh, okay, interesting. So, like having an emotional toolkit or something.
You got it.
I like it. But so, where did this whole thing come from? Where did Stoicism even start?
Well, it all started with this really fascinating guy named Zeno of Citium. He was a wealthy merchant, but get this, he lost everything in a shipwreck.
Oh, wow. Talk about a life-changing experience. I can't even imagine losing my phone, let alone my entire livelihood.
Right. But for Zeno, this tragedy, it kind of became a catalyst. It sparked this incredible personal growth. He started studying philosophy in Athens, and eventually his teachings, they kind of evolved into what we know today as Stoicism.
Hmm, yeah.
He taught in a public space called the Stoa Poikile, which was basically a painted porch.
A porch. Really, so not like some super exclusive academy or anything.
Just a porch. Which suggests that Stoicism was meant to be accessible to everyone, right? Zeno believed that wisdom shouldn't be confined to these, like, ivory towers.
I love that. So what does it actually mean to live like a Stoic? What are like the key principles?
Well, at its core, Stoicism is about focusing on what you can control and accepting what you can't.
So like taking responsibility for our own reactions and choices, but also like acknowledging that we can't control every single thing that happens to us.
Yeah, exactly. It's about cultivating this inner strength that allows us to kind of weather those storms of life without getting swept away.
So it's not about being passive or giving up.
No, not at all. It's about understanding where our true power lies, which is in our own minds. Like you're building this inner citadel that no external force can really breach.
Ooh, I like that. That's a powerful image. What are the tools we need to build this inner citadel?
While Stoicism emphasizes these four cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. They're like pillars supporting a life of resilience and inner peace.
All right, so let's break those down one by one. What does wisdom look like in action?
Well, for a Stoic, wisdom is about making sound judgments based on reason and understanding, not being swayed by those like fleeting emotions or biases. It's about seeing the world, clearly, as it truly is.
So it's about stepping back, observing before we react, instead of letting our emotions make decisions for us.
Yeah, you got it. It's about cultivating a clarity of thought that allows us to make, wise choices even in those challenging situations.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about justice? What does that mean in a Stoic context?
Justice is about treating others fairly and honorably, recognizing our interconnectedness. We're all part of this larger human family, and, our actions, they have ripple effects.
So it's not just about personal gain, but about contributing to the well-being of others.
Exactly. It's about living in a way that benefits, not just ourselves, but also the community, the world around us.
I like that. Okay, this is the one I'm really curious about. Courage. So does that mean being fearless?
Well, in Stoicism, courage isn't about the absence of fear, but about acting in spite of it. It's about facing challenges, with integrity, doing what's right, even when it's difficult.
So that inner strength to persevere even when we are feeling afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about having this moral compass that kind of guides us, even when we're facing adversity.
Okay, I can see that. And lastly, we have temperance. What's the Stoic take on that one?
Temperance is about balance and moderation in all areas of life. It's about controlling our impulses and desires, not letting them rule us. Like finding that sweet spot between, indulgence and deprivation.
So making conscious choices
Yeah.
rather than just being, totally driven by cravings or excesses.
Yes, precisely. It's about living with, intention and purpose, finding that sense of equilibrium that brings true contentment.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how all of these virtues kind of work together. It's like, pieces of a puzzle forming this bigger picture. But how do we actually cultivate these virtues? Like, what did Zeno actually teach his students?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. Zeno was actually known for his kind of unconventional methods, sometimes using what, seemed like pranks or even social experiments to teach these valuable lessons.
Yeah, I read about that. Like telling that one student with all the admirers to shave his head. And that other story about like making that wealthy student sit on a dusty bench, to get his nice clothes dirty. What was the point of that?
He was trying to demonstrate, the fleeting nature of external validation and the importance of detaching from those material possessions. He believed that true learning and growth, they require humility and a willingness to let go of those superficial concerns.
So, like, he was challenging their assumptions about what truly matters.
Exactly. And his own lifestyle reflected this philosophy. He lived very simply, favoring these really basic foods like bread and honey. And he even refused, luxury when he was ill.
So he was walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. He believed in aligning his actions with his principles. He wasn't attached to, like, material comforts or social status. He found contentment in simplicity. He focused on what truly mattered: virtue, wisdom, living in accordance with nature.
It's amazing how relevant his approach to life still is today. I mean, we live in this world that is so obsessed with, like, stuff and external validation.
Oh, it's so true. Zeno's teachings offer this powerful antidote to that constant craving for more. It's about finding contentment in what we already have, appreciating the simple things, and focusing on what truly enriches our lives.
It reminds me a lot of, modern mindfulness practices. Is there like a connection between Stoicism and mindfulness?
Oh, there are definitely some parallels. Both emphasize being present in the moment, observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment, and cultivating that sense of inner peace.
So it's not about denying or suppressing our emotions, but it's about understanding them, managing them skillfully.
Exactly. The Stoics believed that, yeah, we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control our reactions to those events.
It's about cultivating that space between a stimulus and our response, that ability to choose how we react.
Yes, precisely. And that's a skill that takes practice. But the Stoics developed techniques for doing just that. They weren't about becoming, these emotionless robots, but about becoming masters of our own inner worlds. It's amazing how those ancient Stoic ideas are still so relevant today. Like, they really were onto something.
It's like they were, ahead of their time. But Zeno, he wasn't the only Stoic that kind of left his mark, was he?
Oh, definitely not. Stoicism kept evolving after Zeno, and one of the most important figures who shaped its development was Chrysippus.
Chrysippus. I feel like I've heard that name before. Wasn't he considered like the second founder of Stoicism?
Yeah, that's right. He was Brilliant. Chrysippus really systematized and expanded on Zeno's teachings. He turned Stoicism into this comprehensive philosophical system.
So, like, he took Zeno's vision and built it into this, grand structure.
Exactly. He deepened our understanding of Stoic logic and physics. It's amazing to think that even back then, people were grappling with these profound questions about, like, the nature of the universe and, how we fit into it all.
Totally. So, Stoicism, it wasn't just about personal development, it was like a whole worldview.
Yeah, a whole worldview. And that worldview, it spread. It reached the Roman world where it really took root.
That's right. Some of the most famous Stoics, they were Roman. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius. These were figures who had, like, real power and influence, and yet they still found solace and guidance in Stoicism.
I think that's part of what makes their writings so compelling. They weren't, just armchair philosophers. They were living these principles in the real world, facing the same challenges and dilemmas that we face today.
So, okay, I gotta ask about Seneca. He was like an advisor to Emperor Nero, right? Talk about a high-pressure job.
Yeah, no kidding. And Seneca's life, it was full of drama, twists and turns. He was this brilliant writer, playwright, statesman, but he eventually, fell out of favor with Nero.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, Nero wasn't exactly known for his stability, and he ended up ordering Seneca to commit suicide.
That is tragic. How did Seneca react to that?
Well, with incredible composure, actually. From the accounts we have, it seems like he faced his death with this incredible calmness and dignity that really reflected, his Stoic beliefs.
Wow, that's a true testament to the power of this philosophy, huh? It's one thing to talk about facing adversity with courage, but to actually live it out like that, it's really inspiring.
Absolutely. And his writings are filled with these incredible insights on, like, dealing with loss, finding contentment, even, living a virtuous life.
It's that classic Stoic principle.
Right.
We can't control time, but we can control how we use it.
Exactly.
So what about Epictetus? His story is pretty remarkable, too.
Oh, absolutely. Epictetus was born into slavery, but he eventually gained his freedom and became this renowned philosopher.
That's incredible. From slavery to a respected teacher. What a testament to the human spirit, huh?
It really is. And his teachings, they emphasize personal responsibility and the importance of focusing on what we can control, which is even more meaningful, considering his background.
It's a message that really transcends time and circumstance. True freedom. It lies in our inner state of mind, not our external conditions.
You got it.
Okay, and of course, Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor of Rome. Did he actually find time to, write philosophy while ruling an empire?
He did. His personal reflections, compiled in a book called Meditations, are considered this, masterpiece of Stoic thought.
Meditations, huh? It sounds like it was more like a personal journal than a philosophical treatise.
Yeah, that's right. It was his private thoughts, on how to live a good life. It's filled with these moments of introspection and self-reflection. It's a really unique glimpse into the mind of, one of the most powerful men in history, grappling with those same existential questions that we all face.
That's fascinating. It shows that no matter, our station in life, we all share those basic human desires for meaning, for purpose, and for some sense of, how to navigate this world.
It's so true. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. Its principles, they resonate, across time, across circumstance. It's guidance and solace for people from all walks of life.
So we got a merchant who lost everything, an emperor ruling the world.
Yeah.
And Stoicism offered this path towards, wisdom, resilience, and inner peace.
Exactly. And that's why it's still so appealing to people today. It's a philosophy for life, not just for a particular time or place.
It's a good reminder that we all have the tools we need to navigate life's challenges, no matter what our external circumstances are.
That's right.
So we've talked about some of the key figures in Stoicism and their, incredible stories, but now I kind of want to dive a little deeper into some of those core concepts. One that keeps coming up is this idea of living in accordance with nature. What exactly does that even mean?
That's a great question. And it's a really profound aspect of Stoic philosophy, but also one that's often misunderstood.
I can imagine. It sounds like, maybe we all need to go live in the woods or something.
Haha, right. But it's not about literally becoming like one with nature. It's more about aligning ourselves with the rational order of the universe.
Okay, I think I need you to unpack that a little bit. What does the rational order of the universe even mean?
So for Stoics, the universe is governed by reason. It's like this divine logos. And living in accordance with nature means recognizing this inherent order and living in harmony with it.
So understanding the natural laws that kind of govern the universe and making sure our actions and choices are like aligned with those laws.
Yeah, exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all part of something much larger than ourselves, and our individual lives, they're kind of intertwined with this grand tapestry of existence.
I really like that. So it's not about, trying to impose our will on the universe, but about understanding its rhythms and, flowing with them.
Exactly. It's about accepting what is rather than resisting it. Recognizing that there's a certain wisdom and order to the way things unfold. And, by aligning ourselves with that order, we find a sense of peace and harmony.
That makes me think of that Stoic saying, amor fati, love your fate.
That's a great one. It's about embracing what life throws at you, finding meaning and purpose in all those experiences, even the really challenging ones.
About surrendering to the flow of life.
Yeah,
Not in a passive way, but in a way that allows us to, move with it rather than against it.
exactly. And that freedom, it allows us to focus our energy on the things that we can control, our thoughts, actions, and choices. And from that place of inner strength, we can, navigate those challenges with grace and resilience.
That is so powerful. So living in accordance with nature, it's not just about, respecting the environment. It's about aligning ourselves with this rational order of the universe, finding our place within that grand scheme.
Beautifully put. And that alignment, it brings with it this sense of peace, purpose, and interconnectedness that can really truly transform our lives.
I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our exploration of Stoicism, from the evolution of this philosophy to the wisdom of the Roman Stoics to this idea of living in accordance with nature. It's been incredible.
It really has, and I think it highlights just how rich and multifaceted Stoicism really is. It's not just a set of rules or techniques, it's a whole way of life, a philosophy that can guide us to a more fulfilling and meaningful existence.
You know what? I couldn't agree more. Now, I'm kind of curious. What are some of the most common misconceptions about Stoicism that you've come across? Because I feel like there's a tendency to kind of oversimplify or misinterpret its teachings.
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest misconceptions is that Stoicism is about, suppressing your emotions, becoming like this unfeeling robot.
Oh yeah, like putting on a mask and just
Oh,
gritting your teeth through, all of life's difficulties.
exactly. But that couldn't be further from the truth. It's not about denying our emotions, it's about understanding them, learning how to manage them, and not letting them control us.
Becoming the master of our emotions, not the slave to them, right?
Yes. The Stoics, they recognize that emotions are a natural part of the human experience, and they weren't advocating for suppressing them entirely.
So it's more about developing emotional intelligence.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our emotions can be valuable. They give us information, but we don't have to be ruled by them. We have a choice in how we respond to them, how we process them, how we let them influence our actions.
I see, I see. So it's much more nuanced than just, shutting down our feelings. It's about finding that balance between, like, feeling those emotions fully but not letting them dictate our choices or behavior.
Absolutely. Another common misconception is that Stoicism is all about passivity, just accepting whatever happens without taking any action.
Yeah, like just giving up and letting life steamroll over you.
Right. But that's a total misinterpretation. Remember, Stoicism is about focusing on what we can control. And that includes our actions. It's about taking responsibility for our lives, setting goals, and then working towards those goals with purpose and determination.
It's finding that balance, right, between acceptance and action. Accepting what we can't control, but then taking action on the things that we can.
Precisely. The Stoics weren't just these passive bystanders, they were active participants in life. They believed in virtue, in duty, in making a positive contribution to the world.
So it's not about retreating from the world, it's about engaging with it in a mindful and purposeful way.
Exactly. It's about using our reason, our wisdom, our courage to make the world a better place, even when we face challenges and adversity.
That's what's so inspiring about Stoicism to me. It's not about escaping reality. It's about equipping ourselves to navigate it with grace, resilience, and, a deep sense of inner peace.
I totally agree, and I think that's why it continues to resonate so strongly with people today. It's a practical philosophy for living a good life, a life of meaning and purpose, even with all those ups and downs that we all face.
It's a philosophy for the ages, truly timeless wisdom.
I wholeheartedly agree. Now, before we move on, I wanted to touch on one more misconception that Stoicism is this, solitary philosophy, something you practice alone, isolated from everyone else.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I can see how people might get that impression, with all the emphasis on inner strength and self-reliance.
Right. But remember, Stoicism also emphasizes our interconnectedness, our shared humanity. The Stoics believed that we are all part of this larger whole, like a universal family.
So it's not about becoming a hermit, withdrawing from society.
No, not at all. In fact, they believe that living a virtuous life, it includes fulfilling our social duties, contributing to the well-being of others, and, building strong relationships.
It makes sense. We're not isolated individuals. We're part of a larger community.
Exactly. And that sense of community, of belonging, it's essential for us to thrive. The Stoics believed we have a duty to care for others, to treat them with fairness and compassion, to work towards a common good.
So it's not just about personal growth, but about social responsibility too.
Absolutely, and that social dimension is often overlooked. It's not just about finding inner peace, it's about creating a more just and compassionate world.
That's a really important point. Stoicism, it's not just for individuals, it's for society as a whole.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, our interconnectedness, and then, working together to build a better world for everyone.
That is such a powerful message,
Mm,
and one that is so needed in the world today.
it really is. Stoicism is not just about individual resilience, it's about collective flourishing. It's about recognizing that we are all in this together, and by embracing these principles of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, we can create a world that is more just, more compassionate, more in harmony with that, rational order of the universe.
I love that. All right, so we've talked about what Stoicism is, but how do we actually do it? Can't just be about reading old books,
You
right?
got it. Stoicism is all about action, taking those principles and, making them part of our everyday lives.
So it's like having a set of tools, like a mental toolkit for dealing with all the ups and downs.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. And they're not like complicated rituals or anything, just simple, powerful exercises for your mind.
I'm ready. Let's fill up that toolbox. What are some of the essentials, like the techniques we can start using today?
Well, one we've already talked about is negative visualization.
Right, right. Mentally preparing for the worst case scenarios,
Yeah,
like a fire drill, but for our emotions.
exactly. Facing those anxieties head on, but in a safe space, in
Yeah.
your own mind. And by doing that, we take away their power to, paralyze us when they actually come up in real life.
So it's not about being pessimistic or anything. It's about being prepared.
Yeah, exactly. Taking away the element of surprise,
Yeah.
building up that resilience so we don't get totally thrown off course when, challenges inevitably come up.
Like a vaccine. A vaccine against negativity.
Yeah,
What else? Any other tools that can help build that resilience?
absolutely. Another powerful one is the dichotomy of control.
Oh, yeah. I remember you mentioning that earlier. Sounds interesting, but refresh my memory.
It's about making a conscious distinction between what you can control and what you can't.
So things like the weather, other people's opinions, traffic, that's all outside our control.
Right. But our reactions to those things, how we choose to respond, the thoughts we allow ourselves to dwell on, that's all within our control.
Okay, so shifting our focus from the things we can't change to the things we can. I like that. That's empowering.
It is. It frees up so much mental energy. Instead of wasting time on wishing things were different, we can channel that energy into, making the best of the situation.
So instead of feeling like a victim, we become active participants.
Exactly. Taking ownership of that inner world, no matter what's happening outside.
This is really starting to click for me. Taking back the reins. What other Stoic techniques can help with that?
Well, if you're someone who tends to worry a lot, there's a technique called premeditatio malorum. You might find that helpful.
Premeditatio malorum. That sounds a little like negative visualization, but maybe even more intense.
Maybe a little. It's about contemplating those potential misfortunes before they happen, but with a twist.
Ooh, I like a good plot twist. Go on.
Instead of just picturing the worst case scenario, you also think about what actions you could take to, mitigate the damage or even turn it into an opportunity.
So turning that anxiety into action, problem solving.
Exactly, like building a mental emergency kit so you're not caught completely off guard.
I love that. Being proactive, not reactive. Turning fear into, fuel. Okay, what other gems are hiding in this Stoic toolbox?
All right, so for those moments when you're feeling overwhelmed or tempted to give in to those, unhealthy habits, the Stoics practice something called the view from above.
View from above. Sounds like we're going on a mental hot air balloon ride.
Ha ha ha, I like that. Imagine yourself floating way up high, looking down at everything. From that perspective, your worries, They're still real, but they suddenly seem much smaller.
Yeah, I could see that. Just imagining it now, it's already shifting things.
It's a powerful way to remember that our lives are part of something so much bigger. It helps us detach from the anxiety, get a sense of proportion.
Zooming out, right, and realizing that the things that feel so huge, they're actually pretty small in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. And that can be so liberating. It lets us loosen our grip on those worries, approach things with more calmness and balance.
This is really making me think differently about, like, how I approach stress. It's not about pretending those feelings aren't there, but about how much power we give them.
Exactly. It's about taking control of our minds rather than letting our minds control us. Now, speaking of perspective, there's another practice that might seem a little counterintuitive at first: memento mori, the reminder of death.
Whoa, okay, that one sounds a little, morbid. Why would we want to think about death? Especially when we're trying to cultivate peace and resilience.
It's not about dwelling on death in like a negative way. It's more about using it as a motivator to live a more fulfilling life.
Okay, so reminding ourselves that our time is precious
Yeah.
and, to make the most of it.
Exactly. When we contemplate our own mortality, it helps us get our priorities straight. Let go of those petty grievances. Cherish our loved ones. Pursue the things that actually bring us joy and meaning.
Life is short, make it count. Or like the philosophical version.
Yeah, exactly. Living with intention and purpose, knowing that our time is limited, making sure we're not wasting it on things that don't matter.
I like that reframing. It's not about being reckless, it's about being aware of how precious life is.
Right. And then finally, one of the simplest yet most powerful Stoic practices is just getting into the habit of morning and evening reflection.
Oh, that's nice. Starting and ending the day with intention. What does that look like?
In the morning, take a few minutes to prepare mentally for the day. Think about the challenges you might face and how you can respond in a way that aligns with your values.
So, setting those intentions, choosing to approach things with, that stoic mindset.
Yes. And then in the evening, take a little time to review, acknowledge both your successes and failures, see where you could improve.
Like a daily check in, a chance to course correct.
Exactly. Cultivating that habit of self-reflection, always striving to be better.
This has been amazing. I'm so glad we took this deep dive into Stoicism. From those ancient roots to how we can actually use it in our lives today. It's like a roadmap.
It is. And one of the best things about it, it's not like some rigid dogma, right?
Yeah.
It's a framework we can adapt to our own individual needs.
Taking those core principles, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance, and just weaving them into our lives. Using those tools, finding that inner strength.
Beautifully put. And remember, it's not about becoming some kind of superhuman. It's about striving to be the best version of ourselves, day by day, moment by moment.
It's a journey, not a destination. And a journey we can all take, no matter who we are or what we believe.
Absolutely. And to help you along that journey, I highly recommend checking out the song Hardworking Man by Marcus King. It's this really soulful anthem, captures that spirit of perseverance, resilience, finding joy even in the midst of challenges.
I love that recommendation.
Yeah.
It's a perfect reminder that even when things are tough, there's beauty to be found in just showing up, in putting in the work,
Yeah,
with grit and determination.
that's the Stoic spirit. So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving to live that life of virtue, wisdom, and inner peace.